Hello geniuses! Today we're having a look at a game that I played at the Epsom Chess Club as a practice game, part of my Road to Champ. In case you're new to the channel and you don't know what the Road to Champ is, this is my journey to try and win the Amsterdam Open tournament that is going to happen between the 24th and 26th of October. And I am going to update you when the tournament happens and stream the games and recap them. And hopefully my preparation during these weeks is going to be enough to win. So this was a rated game that I played at the club. It was a classical game. So we had, I believe, an hour and a half each plus 10 seconds per move. Now, maybe the increment is not exactly correct, but that's besides the point. I was playing black and I faced my own opening. So my opponent played the London system. And I will show you what I play against the London system. So this is my favorite opening really with white, but I have to make a confession. I don't actually know how to play against the London, or well, I do have a system that I use, but there is a reason why this is my favorite opening, and the reason why is that it's very solid, it's very hard to play against, and it's quite annoying to play against, meaning that you need to be a little bit creative if you want to get a sharp game and get your opponent out of preparation. So when I saw the London, I was quite intrigued, I have to say, and I decided to play c5. And c5 kind of transposes into a Benoni. So the Benoni would be d4 and c5 right away. Now you might notice that the difference is the fact that this bishop is not out yet. And this is not very good for black, actually. It doesn't have a great reputation. This used to be played by grandmasters during the 90s. But now, with the addition of the bishop to f4, this becomes significantly more interesting. And the only move that doesn't equalize right away for black is d5. This is by far the best move for white, and basically this would continue in a normal way. You can decide to go aggressive with b5. This is kind of the aggressive way to play this, or a more standard move is, for example, d6, and we're going to play g6 and bishop to g7, control this strong and long diagonal. And now if you push either one of these pawns, the position is already equalized for black, and my opponent actually did play c3, which is a mistake, because now I can go queen to b6, which I did, and attack this pawn that is weak right away. And this is not an option if you're playing a regular Benoni. So I'm playing against this bishop that has developed arguably a little bit too soon. So now my opponent goes queen to b3, which is a very common counter to the queen coming out to b6. And here I completely forgot that the idea of the queen coming out like this is to actually take the queen right away and enter this endgame where you have a very clear target, these weaknesses for white, doubled isolated pawns, and you're just going to get a very simple development. Now we're already attacking this pawn, white needs to defend it, something like this, and we develop and we play a normal game. For whatever reason, I haven't played this in a long time. I actually don't face the London nearly ever, which is quite interesting. And instead, I played d6, which is still a good move. It's just less sharp and less aggressive. My opponent developed the knight. Now, the engine wants me to take here, which I didn't think was good at all, because now I'm the one creating the weaknesses here. But apparently, the engine argues that this is fine for black. And I developed the bishop to e6. I thought that this was a very interesting approach to the position. Now, I am inviting white to take again, because I'm going to open up my rook. And now these are not as big of a weakness, because they're not isolated. The pawn is still here, and if this ever takes, I can simply undouble with a great position. And there would already be pressure on this pawn. Now the engine says to actually just ignore that and play e4, which is interesting. I thought that I could simply take here. But apparently after rook takes and bishop takes, this is good for white. After bishop to b5 check, okay, I can see that, yes. And this kind of forces our hand. If we go, for example, knight b to d7, we are a little bit tangled up here. And having gained this pawn here is not that big of an advantage. Okay, but instead, my opponent decided to go back. Oh well, he took first, I took here, and then he went back. The idea is that if white takes here, I have this bishop move here, defending the rook, and forcing the queen to b4, because every single other square was covered. And then I would have taken here, and simply developed it normally. I'm going to play g6, and play like this. Now, it seems like black is doing great here, because it has a lot of very quick development, while white is behind in development. But we have given a 3-on-1 on the queen side to white. So this was the way to go for white. Okay. So instead, my opponent decides to go back with the queen. And now I develop, he develops, I go g6 to play bishop to g7. Now here, e3 by him is not good. e4 is by far the superior move. This is defended 2 times anyway, so there's no way to take that pawn. And it simply makes the white pieces being able to maneuver more easily around the board. And it also controls more vital squares. But he decided to go e3, probably trying to keep everything a little bit more solid. I went bishop to g7. And now this move, knight g5. And the purpose of knight g5 is very obvious. He's trying to get this bishop for a knight. And his argument is that if I play a move like bishop to d7, I am kind of wasting a move because I went out with the bishop and now I have to come back, and this knight is still somewhat aggressive. But this was the way to go, and I knew that in the game. I knew that bishop to d7 was the best move. But there is an issue with bishop to d7, which is that we are playing a little bit passively. We are replying to our opponent's attacks, and I don't really love to play like that. The thing is that here, after something like, let's say, the bishop develops, this is something that I also had thought about, and it gains control of this strong diagonal. We can actually simply castle. If white castles, this position is kind of loose for white. These pieces are all depending on another piece defending them, and black has great development, a very active queen, and this position is actually really good for black. But instead, I came up with what I thought to be an interesting idea, and I simply castled, which the engine doesn't like. But the idea is that once I have this pawn mass in the center, I'm going to be able to basically break through in the center with these pawns. And I now have an open rook, and I have gained an extra move by castling right away, basically. I am giving up a bishop for a knight here, which is usually something that you don't want to do unless you gain something, but I thought that this made sense and that I was gaining something. Okay, so now my opponent actually blunders. Knight to e4 is a blunder. Something better would have been, for example, to simply develop the bishop, something very natural like this. The issue with knight e4 is that I can simply take this knight, and after the queen takes, I have bishop to c3 check. And of course, the threat is that if this is taken, the game is simply over. I'm going to win the rook, and even if white picks up this pawn with check, I'm simply going to move away, and I have a full exchange on a bunch of pawns. And the king is, believe it or not, completely safe. So, of course, my opponent cannot accept the bishop sacrifice, so he went here, which is the best move. And now I kept capturing more pawns. My opponent takes here with check, I move away, and now rook b1 is the only move that doesn't lose the rook right away. And now I thought that it made a lot of sense to come to a3, because I am keeping an eye on this square, and basically I'm preventing white from taking here, because this would be simply devastating. And the engine prefers going back to e5. And I thought that this was slightly worse, because now white could get some activity down this file. Now, this is not true, because I get so much more activity in return. I can also play something like rook here, probably. And yeah, going back with the bishop was the superior move. But okay, bishop here, this is given a mistake by the engine. I think it's still decent. Now, bishop to d3 is not a good move, because after something like knight to b4, the game is simply over. There are so many threats. I was somewhat worried about the bishop taking here, but this is nothing. I mean, we can simply... Oh, well, no, we cannot come here. What can we do? Ah, yes, of course, rook f6. This was my idea. And we're winning the bishop, basically. So I found a similar approach, but I went knight to e5, attacking like this. And now if the bishop takes, we're going to open up a line of attack for the rook. Everything is defended. The pawns are doubled and isolated, but this is not important compared to the attack that black has. My opponent instead played king e2, which is a horrible move. No disrespect, Venki, sorry. That's the name of my opponent. But I can basically just take this bishop. I'm getting back my bishop for the knight, and I'm luring the king outside, meaning that it's very exposed. And after rook ac8, this is getting very close to checkmate territory. The rook can never come here because, I mean, I just win everything. And there's no easy way to defend this king. The only move that still kicks a little bit is queen to b3, which he finds, because now this defends a lot of important squares here, and it's keeping an eye on this bishop. And now apparently the way to win this game right away was to go e5, bishop back, and now bishop to b4. Brilliant move, because this looks like a sacrifice of a bishop. It's attacked twice, but this is actually literally just a checkmate. So the queen is glued to the defense of the king. Now I didn't find that. I decided to come up with another idea. I played rook to c6. My idea is that I can triple on this file, and I can always swing the rook around and basically take away squares from the queen. The rook came around. I completed my plan, and now I played rook to b6. Queen to d3 was the move that made the most sense to me. I thought this was the right move by the opponent. Apparently queen to e6 is better, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. Black is completely winning anyway. So queen here, and now I play e5. It's not the right moment to do it, and my opponent goes bishop to h6. I take the rook, takes, and I solidify here with b6. There's no rush. There's no rush to find a knockout blow here. I am just defending everything, making sure that my pawns are not going to get captured, and I'm not giving any counterplay to white. And now after this move, I can simply go here and simplify the position. Now, I thought that the best move for my opponent was to come here, queen to d2, because now after I take, the king becomes active, and this is only slightly better for black. Don't forget that we only have one extra pawn. You guys should not simplify too much when you're in a winning position, unless the reason why you're winning is because of a great material advantage. The reason why I'm winning in this position is because of the pressure and the attack that I have on white, not because of the material. But instead my opponent I took here with check. The king moves, and I pick up this pawn and defend the bishop at the same time. My opponent finds a very good move here, f4. He's trying to create a passed pawn, which he almost does. And now he's gonna have access to this pawn. I'm not exactly sure why he didn't go king e4 and king e5 here. I would have had to give up that pawn. I was probably going to take here or something like this. I see now that this is not very good. The best move is rook to d2. And after takes, I mean, basically just start marching these pawns, and this is never really a threat because I have bishop and rook that can always stop it. So instead my opponent goes here, I pick up the pawn, he goes here, and now this is kind of just a matter of a conversion. I kick the bishop around, I come here, he decides to give me the pawn, trying to run this way to pick up the other pawns. I take, and now a nice finish, rook e4 check, king moves, and rook to d4 is GG, because I'm threatening to win the bishop, so the rook has to take my rook. And now after I take, I have a protected passed pawn, the king is overwhelmed, I also have passers here, the game is simply over. So after rook to d4, my opponent resigned in this position, and I defeated the London system. This great opening that unfortunately is not perfect. But I have to say that it's not entirely the London's fault, because my opponent did play a little bit too aggressively in the opening. So for example, there was no real need, in my opinion, to go knight g5 and knight e4. Knight e4 is in fact just a blunder. If my opponent had been a little bit more patient with something like bishop to e2 and then castles, he would have had a fine position where he has the bishop pair and some weaknesses here in the center with the doubled pawns, and it would have been another game. a completely different game. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Thank you for following me through my journey. I appreciate so much the support by you. I am improving. My blitz rating is now 1920, I think. I reached a peak of 1933, and just a month ago, I think I was below 1700 or something. Well, I was probably underrated at that point in blitz, but nonetheless, that's some improvement. And with rapid games, I'm improving as well. So it's looking good. I am feeling good about my chances to win the tournament in Amsterdam. And yeah, I'll keep you updated. See you.